And if you can hear the sound of my voice, listening position. Ooh, nice. Everybody right there on point. Okay, so something I want to do with you guys today, I was sitting home and I was thinking, and I know that I talked to Ms. McMahon a lot and some of our other educators in the building, and one of the things that I know that we struggle with sometimes is fluency when we are reading. I'm going to actually come back to that word, but I just want to tell you today that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, how to become a more fluent reader. Can you say fluent?
Fluent.
So keep that word in your mind because we're going to come back to that word in a few minutes. Let me ask everybody this question. Has anybody ever heard of the word boot camp? Boot camp? You know what boot camp is? What's boot camp?
Summer camp.
Summer camp? Not quite. It has the word camp in it, but not quite. Boot camp. What do you think of when you hear boot camp?
Like it's like a camp, but it's like if you have like a son and you send him to read, it's like you bed or something.
Okay, it could possibly be a place where you send someone who needs to get themselves together. Let's try one more. Boot camp.
I think boot camp means that when you like go on camping in the woods.
Okay, so we have a couple different definitions going on. And the good thing is nobody actually hit it on target, so that makes me more excited to actually tell you what the word means. So we're going to do something, and I actually told Ms. McMahon, we're going to start something called a fluency boot camp. Can you say that?
Fluency boot camp.
Fluency boot camp. So I'm going to go through a couple of different slides with you to explain how that's going to look in our class over the next couple of weeks. Let's see. So fluency boot camp. See my star? Because you're stars. That's what you are. Stars. Fluency boot camp. So here's the definition of boot camp. So now we no longer have to wonder. It's a noun. And there's two different definitions. One I'm going to focus on more than the other. But the first one is a camp where people who have recently joined the U.S. Army, Navy, Marine Corps receive their basic training. So have you heard of the Army, Navy, or the Marines? Thumbs up. Okay, great. The second definition is a program or a situation that helps people become much better at doing something in a short period of time. So that's the one that I actually want to focus on. Our Fluency Boot Camp is a program that is going to be designed to help us become more fluent in what? In reading over a short period of time, because you guys basically already have all the strategies, but we just don't necessarily apply them all the time. Okay? So here's the definition of fluency. Remember I told you I was going to come back to that word. What's the word?
Fluency.
Okay. Fluency is the ability to read smoothly and automatically with expression and attention to punctuation. I want to hone in on something. With expression and attention to punctuation. Remember those words because you're going to see them again, okay? So here are the areas that we're going to focus on during the boot camp. We have 4 areas that we're going to focus on. The first one is pace. Can you say that?
Pace.
Pace. And I'm going to go through each one. The next one is phrasing.
Phrasing.
The third one is expression.
Expression.
And the last one is punctuation.
Punctuation.
So the first one is pace, okay? And the definition of pace is the speed in which you read. So there are 2 things that we need to think about when we think of the word pace. The goal is to read at a just right pace, and I'll explain what that means. And reading not too fast and not too slow. So I have this poem here. I love poems. They're like little mini short stories. And so I'm going to give you an example of pace with my poem. I'm going to give you the first example and then the second, and you tell me which one sounds better in my reading of pace, okay? Listen, this is 1. Last night I had the sneezes. I was really very ill. That was 1. 2. Last night I had the sneezes. I Why does 2 sound better?
Because it's faster and you know how readers read with a sense of attitude, excitement and stuff like that? Well, that was good because you were reading fluently and you had this regular, normal attitude.
And I had a good pace. Okay, very good. So the next one is phrasing. Phrasing. That means chunking the words together into meaningful phrases. Reading in phrases and not reading words one word at a time. So here's example number 1. I'm going to do it 2 different ways. You can tell me which one sounds better in terms of phrasing. At 8 o'clock, I went to bed. My mom turned out the light. That's 1. Ready for 2? Yeah. At 8 o'clock, I went to bed. My mom turned out the light. Which one is better, 1 or 2? 1. Why is 1 better?
Because the second one, when you was reading it, you was making a pause in every sentence.
I was making a pause at every sentence, right? I almost sounded like a
Robot.
Like a robot, right? And that's not good because it makes it hard for you as the reader and for someone listening to. Do you want to listen to somebody reading a story to you like that?
No.
No, not at all. Okay, so phrasing. The next one is expression, okay? Expression, reading with feeling in your voice, very similar to what he had just shared with us. So there's a couple of little points to go along with. Changing your voice to match your character, reading like you would speak and not like a robot, and moving your voice up and down, okay? So I kind of already did the example of the robot, so I just want you to listen to me read with expression, and then I'm going to read without expression so you can hear the difference. I sneezed my brains out in my bed. I didn't get much rest. So the reason, teacher, that I flunked the test. That's 1. 2. I sneezed my brain out in the bed. I didn't get much rest. So that's the reason, teacher, that I flunked the spelling test. Which one had expression, 1 or 2? Michael? 1, right? Why 1?
Because in the first one, you was your voice was acting like the characters, and in the second, you were just saying it in the natural voice. I mean, not saying talking.
Right, I was just talking in a regular, boring voice. Did I seem like I was excited to read the story?
No.
Did I put myself in the character's body? No, you want to pretend that you're the actual character. That helps you to recall the story even better and comprehend exactly what's going on. And if you're reading to someone, it helps them to actually imagine the story in their head. Okay? The last one is punctuation. Now this one is very, very important. You may not think that it's as important as the others, but it really honestly is, and I'm going to explain to you why. So punctuation, reading with attention to punctuation, stopping at periods. Punctuation, sorry, attention to punctuation, stopping at periods. Taking breaths at commas, making your voice go up for question marks, showing excitement for exclamation points, and using quotations to change voice for characters, okay? So we need to look at all of these things when we are reading. Sometimes when I have a story in front of me, I actually look at the ending marks first to kind of gauge myself and see, where I need to be changing my voice, especially if I'm going to read a story to other people so that they can understand the story as much as they can with me using the punctuation properly. So here's an example of me using punctuation and an example of me not using punctuation. Last night I had the sneezes. I was very ill. My mother called the doctor who prescribed a purple pill. At 8 o'clock I went to bed. My mom turned out the light. I used up 1 whole box of Kleenex, sneezing through the night. That's 1. 2. Last night I had the sneezes. I was very ill. My mother called the doctor who prescribed a purple pill. At 8 o'clock I went to bed. My mom turned out the light. I used up one whole box of Kleenex to get through the night.
Oh my God.
Which one did I use the punctuation in properly? 1 or 2?
1.
1. What was I doing?
You were like stopping at the periods.
Right. I was stopping at the periods, and if there's a comma there, you kind of just take a little breath, okay? All of these are very, very important when you're reading, because if you just skim over them, you're not really fully understanding the story, all right? So, just like I just read this poem to you, something else that's really important with fluency is to keep reading something over and over again. Okay, so I'm actually going to read this poem for you all the way through, and then I'm going to give you the opportunity to practice another poem by yourself by reading it over and over again, but focusing on those 4 action points. And I'll go back to them so you can remember. So you ready for the whole poem?
Yes.
It's called a Bad Case of the Sneezes. Last night I had the sneezes. I was very ill. My mother called the doctor who prescribed a purple pill. At 8 o'clock I went to bed. My mom turned out the light. I used one whole box of Kleenex, sneezing through the night. I sneezed my brains out in my bed. I didn't get much rest. So that's the reason, teacher, that I flunked the spelling test. Okay? So did you hear my pacing?
Yes.
Did you hear my phrasing?
Yes.
Did you hear my
Expression.
I was thinking if you remember expression. Yes, no?
Yes.
And did you hear me stopping at punctuation?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So this is the poem that you guys, are actually going to work on. I have copies here. It's called A Mess in My Desk. It is actually the same author of the poem that I just read. His name is Bruce Lansky. It's actually pretty funny. So you have to think about it when you get it. Not yet. I'm going to give you the copy. But when you get it, I want you to practice all the things that I did, because you're actually going to match up with a partner and read it to them once you practice it by yourself maybe 3 or 4 times. Okay? But because this is boot camp, up on your feet. Oh, get up. This is boot camp. Everybody up in order, hands by side. Get them there. Quickly. So we have to pretend right now that we're in the army. You ready? Hands by side. Salute. All right. I came up with this chant. I had a cousin that was in the army, and he used to sing all these little chants that he learned. And so I thought about him, and I was like, I'm going to come up with a chant for fluency, okay? Using all the terms that we just talked about today, all right? Are you ready?
Yes.
Because it involves repeating. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, so here we go. So you're going to repeat after me. So you see where it says repeat? That's when you're going to repeat after me, but I'll basically point to you. The bottom gets a little bit tricky, so we may have to work on that once or twice, but I'll make sure we come back to that. And it has some marching that goes along with it. But here's the thing about the marching. If we march hard, can you hear the words?
No.
So we kind of want to have a little pace. All right? You ready?
Yes.
Now you have to listen and repeat. I don't know what you've been told.
I don't know what you've been told.
Reading quickly, the way to go.
Reading quickly, the way to go.
I have to practice every day.
I have to practice every day.
Pacing and phrasing all the way.
Pacing and phrasing all the way.
I can't forget to use expression.
I can't forget to use expression.
If I want to leave a good impression.
If I want to leave a good impression.
Sound off.
Sound off.
1, 2.
1, 2.
Sound off.
Sound off.
3, 4.
3, 4.
Sound off.
Sound off.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's the part that got kind of
1,
tricky.
2.
So here's how the last part goes, just so you know. I say sound off, you say 1, 2. I say sound off, you say 3, 4.
Oh.
And And then all together we say, sound off, 1, 2, 3, 4. Rewind. So you ready to try that part?
Yeah.